The world is holding its breath. Every headline, every market tremor, and every diplomatic move is watched with growing anxiety. We stand on the edge of a new economic era, one marked not by open borders and shared prosperity, but by conflict, uncertainty, and a scramble for advantage rather than cooperation. The global order of free markets is fracturing under the weight of national interests and strategic rivalry. Old alliances are being tested, and new lines are being drawn in the sand. Trade is now a tool of power. Tariffs, sanctions, and quotas are the new weapons. Economic leverage is wielded as fiercely as military might, reshaping the rules of engagement. Australia is caught between two giants, the US, our key security ally, and China, our largest trading partner. Each demands loyalty, each offers risk and reward. Their escalating rivalry shakes our economy to its core, sending ripples through our markets and forcing us to rethink our identity, our alliances, and our place in the world. The question is no longer just how to prosper, but how to survive in a world where certainty is a luxury and stability is fleeting. The consequences are real. From farmers' paddocks to supermarket aisles, every tariff and restriction sends shockwaves through our export-dependent economy, touching every household and business. As 2026 begins, a temporary truce between Washington and Beijing offers only fleeting stability. Beneath the surface, new trade fronts are opening, and the next crisis may be just around the corner. China's latest moves on beef and rare earth minerals signal a new phase of competition, with Australia once again in the crosshairs of global power plays. For Australia, the challenge is clear: to anticipate, adapt, and build resilience for the shocks ahead, forging a path through the shifting sands of global trade. The current trade war is the result of decades of shifting power and growing mistrust between the US and China. Hopes that integrating China would lead to shared values have faded. Instead, China has become a technological powerhouse challenging US dominance. The Trump administration's tariffs on Chinese goods sparked a tit-for-tat escalation, reshaping global supply chains and ending the era of engagement. The conflict now centers on critical technologies, 5G, AI, and semiconductors. The US restricts Chinese tech giants. China pours billions into self-sufficiency. This is more than economics. It's a clash of systems democracy versus state-led capitalism. The rivalry is deep-rooted and structural, unlikely to be resolved by any single deal. The world is being forced to choose sides. For Australia, the US-China rivalry became painfully real in the early 2020s, transforming abstract geopolitical tensions into direct, everyday impacts on the nation's economy and people. After calling for a COVID-19 inquiry, Australia faced a wave of Chinese economic coercion, tariffs on barley and wine, stranded coal, and barriers for timber, lobster, and cotton. Suddenly, entire industries found themselves caught in the crossfire, with livelihoods and regional communities at risk. The message was clear: political disagreements have economic consequences. Australian exporters watched as shipments were delayed or rejected, and uncertainty rippled through boardrooms and farms alike. This shattered the long-held belief that business and politics could be kept separate, exposing our vulnerability to politically motivated trade disruptions. The idea that economic ties could insulate us from diplomatic fallout was proven dangerously naive. The scars linger, shaping every trade negotiation and business decision. For many, the experience was a wake-up call, forcing a reassessment of risk and resilience. While some tariffs have lifted, the memory drives a push for trade diversification. New markets in India, Vietnam, and the EU are now seen as essential to Australia's future prosperity and security. The lesson is clear: economic resilience is now a core part of national security. Policymakers and businesses alike are rethinking supply chains and partnerships. Relying on a single partner is a risk Australia can't afford. The need to diversify is no longer just a strategy, but a necessity for survival in an unpredictable world. The echoes of that dispute are a constant reminder of our vulnerability, urging Australia to build a more secure and adaptable economic future. Just as stability seemed within reach for Australian beef exporters, China announced a steep 55% tariff on beef imports that exceed a newly set quota. This sudden move impacts all major beef exporting nations, but the effects are especially severe for Australia, which has long relied on China as its largest and most lucrative market. Last year, Australia's beef exports to China far surpassed the new quota, meaning that nearly a third of our beef shipments will now be subject to these crippling tariffs. For many exporters, this represents a significant financial setback, threatening the viability of businesses and jobs across rural communities. For cattle producers, this is a major blow. Many have invested heavily in expanding herds and infrastructure to meet Chinese demand, only to face sudden uncertainty and potential losses. China insists the move is purely economic, not political, arguing it's designed to protect its domestic beef industry as the country faces economic headwinds and falling beef prices. Officials say the tariffs are necessary to stabilize local markets and support Chinese farmers. The Australian government is treating it as an economic issue, carefully avoiding any talk of retaliation or escalation. Instead, officials are focusing on dialogue and seeking to resolve the issue through diplomatic and trade channels. Still, the move highlights Australia's vulnerability, showing that even non-political shifts in China's trade policy can have devastating consequences for our exporters. The uncertainty is a stark reminder of the risks tied to over-reliance on a single market. The tariffs have reignited anxieties across the entire agricultural sector, underscoring the dangers of market concentration and the urgent need for a more resilient export strategy. Whether the motivation is politics or protectionism, the outcome is the same: lost income for producers, economic pain for rural communities, and an urgent need to find new international markets for Australian beef. The lesson is clear: diversification is not just wise, it's essential for the future of Australian agriculture. While Australia faces new beef tariffs, the US and China have struck a temporary agricultural truce. In late 2025, Trump and Xi agreed to suspend some tariffs and for China to buy large volumes of US soybeans. The deal offers relief to American farmers, but Beijing hasn't confirmed all the details, leaving uncertainty. The truce is limited. Many tariffs remain, and US soybeans still face higher tariffs than Brazil's. Some US products, like ginseng, remain heavily penalized. For Australia, this highlights both the volatility of US trade policy and opportunities to exploit gaps, like tariff-free almonds. The US-China conflict creates a shifting landscape of winners and losers. For Australia, agility and strategic positioning are key. A new front in the trade war is the battle for critical minerals, rare earths essential for modern technology. China dominates refining, not just mining, and in 2025 expanded export restrictions, tightening its grip on global supply chains. This move jolted the US and allies, including Australia, into action. Australia's vast reserves make it central to efforts to build alternative supply chains and reduce dependence on China. This is a huge economic opportunity, but also puts Australia in the crosshairs of strategic competition. The risk: a split global tech ecosystem, higher costs, and strategic uncertainty. For Australia, being forced to choose between two technological spheres is deeply uncomfortable. The war for minerals is, in many ways, a war for the future. The trade wars have real consequences for Australia's economy and society. The new beef tariff threatens thousands of jobs in regional areas, creating uncertainty and discouraging investment. Volatility ripples through the economy. Reduced export income tightens government budgets and affects essential services. Rising shipping costs and new levies fuel inflation and challenge businesses. Socially, the pressure sparks debate over our economic dependencies and foreign policy, creating political and community divisions. Yet adversity has spurred innovation. Businesses have pivoted to new markets and become more resilient. The current crisis accelerates diversification and investment in domestic capabilities. Australia is being forced to think strategically about supply chains and new partnerships. The trade wars are forging a stronger, more resilient economy. Understanding the motivations of key players is crucial. China is now proactively using economic leverage to achieve strategic goals, willing to endure pain for long-term objectives. The rare earth restrictions show China's confidence in controlling supply chains. The beef tariffs are seen as economic self-preservation amid a domestic slowdown, not a political attack. Australia's government is choosing dialogue over confrontation, On the US side, Trump's approach is transactional and unpredictable. Short-term truces offer little long-term certainty. The era of predictable, rules-based trade is over. Economic interdependence is now seen as a vulnerability. The expert consensus: diversify trade partners and supply chains, and invest in domestic capabilities. In this new world, security comes from not being overly reliant on any single nation. The world of 2026 is being reshaped by economic power and strategic rivalry. Tariffs and export controls are redrawing the map of global commerce. For Australia, this is the greatest economic and strategic challenge in a generation. Recent events, beef tariffs, rare earth restrictions, are symptoms of a deeper shift in the global order. The US-China truce is only a temporary reprieve. Relying on great powers is not a sustainable strategy. The path forward is clear: accelerate diversification, seek new markets, and invest in sovereign capabilities. Resilience must be our new watchword. The choices we make now will echo for decades. The trade wars are a present reality that affects us all. We must face this challenge united, determined to forge our own destiny in an uncertain world.